Welcome to G.I. Joe RPG Stories. In this podcast, I present after-action reports based on our game sessions playing the G.I. Joe role-playing game by Renegade Game Studios. I am David Martel, the Game Master, and this is episode 105, Horror Night on Cobra Island, Part 1. In the previous episode, the Joes learned that the security system restricting access to Doctor Venom's laboratory was controlled by two computers located in separate buildings. In all likelihood, the two prisoners didn't know any more than that, and the terror in their faces suggested that they weren't hiding anything either. Maybe the thought of being devoured by the undead had motivated them to talk. Or maybe it was the fact that Contact had succeeded on his intimidation role. After crossing the forest separating them from their objective, Max Power, Contact, Ghost Feather, Lone Wolf and Atari arrived at the edge of the urban settlement with their prisoners. For Atari, this was his first mission with them. He had taken Tracker's place because the technician had gone to look for his twin sister with Ripcord and the others, while securing transportation off the island. Dialtone had stayed behind to maintain communication between the two teams. When they arrived, Cobra soldiers were attempting to stop an undead invasion in the streets, knowing that the approaching horde could emerge at any moment. The Joes shoved their gagged prisoners inside a public bathroom. The officer tried to scream for help, but the little that came out was muffled by the gag. Max Power leaned in close.
"Don't make noise, and you might have a chance to live,"
he said with a hint of menace.
"The things out there, they don't care about the color of your uniform. Consider yourself lucky that I do."
With no clear idea where to begin their search, the team took a moment to peer through the windows of the nearest building. To the south, they spotted undead wandering inside what appeared to be a garage. To the north, there was no immediate danger, so they decided to start there. Taking advantage of Lone Wolf's infiltration skills, they slipped inside what looked like a pharmacy. As they explored the premises, they noticed enemies in the adjacent room. Former Cobra soldiers now part of the undead horde. They quickly eliminated the first few, just as the battle outside intensified. Cobra soldiers shouted their typical war cry, "Cobra!" as they emptied their magazines into the undead. Those cries, filled with fervor, soon turned to screams of terror as the noise attracted even more horrifying creatures. The Cobra officer desperately tried to restore order, but discipline was never Cobra's strong suit, and the situation spiraled out of control. Then, a loud detonation erupted from the forest. The ground shook. A fireball bloomed above the southern tree line, catching the eye of many undead in the street. Then, Dialtone's voice cut through their HDB communicators.
"Looks like the surprise you left for the horde really got this party started,"
he said, almost amused. "How many did we get?" Ghost Feather asked, watching the distant flames.
"Hard to say, enough to make a dent, but they'll be heading your way before long."
The zombies in the street were aimlessly looking toward the flames. Instead of fleeing to regroup, the Cobra soldiers saw that as an opportunity for some easy kills. But when they resumed their firing, more undead appeared from behind the corner, and then snake meat was back on the menu. For a brief moment, the situation outside seemed to stabilize, and Cobra reinforcements arrived. Among them, a squad of Cobra Vipers led by Major Carnage. They fought their way through the zombie horde, retreating into the pharmacy to avoid being overwhelmed. Once inside, the newcomers quickly realized that they were not alone. Since there was no point in trying to stay hidden anymore, the Joes rushed forward while Contact was suppressing fire with his heavy machine gun. Vipers were rattled, but Major Carnage wasn't going to back down. Atari and Lone Wolf searched the area and discovered a computer that was connected to network cables. "Jackpot!" said Atari. "We found the first objective!" They wanted to hack the terminal while the rest of the team distracted Carnage, but the Major was not going to let that happen. They were in his way, and he was planning to flank the team by moving through the adjacent room. Lone Wolf, who had previously encountered Carnage under the alias Reaper, knew it was best for him to back off, avoid blowing his cover. And since the player wasn't present for the session, that reveal will have to wait, so Lone Wolf slipped away just in time. Atari pressed forward, blade drawn and ready to fight, but Carnage was bigger and stronger than he expected. First exchange went badly. Atari was unable to connect, and when Major Carnage hit him with his machete, the technician stumbled back, catching himself on a shelf. "A little help!" he shouted, holding his side. Ghostfeather dropped to the ground, and from that position, he had a partial line of sight. Yet, he would still have to take a guess. "Atari!" he shouted. "Stay still!" The sniper aimed through the gypsum wall and fired. Major Carnage was severely wounded by the sneak attack, and had no choice but to retreat, fleeing through a door at the far end of the building. But Ghostfeather, a fierce Apache warrior, was not about to let him escape so easily. He rushed outside to track his target. Unsurprisingly, the hunter was able to spot Carnage immediately, and although he was already far, he had him in his sights. Scoring a 19, the player had rolled exactly what he needed to meet the Major's defense and take him down. But the Game Master still had a story point to spend and, according to the game mechanics, used it to increase the Major's defense to 20. So that was just enough to let him escape and fight in the next game session. You have reached the end of this report. If you would like to know more but don't want to wait for the next episode to drop, you can visit my blog at gijoRPGstories.wordpress.com. And if you like these narrated stories, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is David Martel, signing off.